What's going on, guys? You're back with the Unruly Podcast, and this is your host, Sticks. Let's get right into it. So first, last week we touched upon Kyler Murray and his stupid ass studying habits, and apparently, with all the backlash, the Cardinals decided to take the phrase out. And for those who don't know, the phrase was that he had to, in order to keep his contract, he had to do 4 hours of independent study outside of the facility, and if he didn't do that, they could void his contract. I don't know. I think Kyler Murray, for one, is incredibly stupid, but to the point I need to make, he apparently held a 11-minute post conference after one of the mini camp practices or training camp practices, and was saying, "Oh, this is disrespectful. This is blasphemous." He's flattered that, with his height and stature, he thinks that people think, he could do this himself. No, you think you are better than you are. You think, I don't need to study, I don't need to do all that, and you got caught because nobody else has ever had this in their contracts, and people are trying to make it a race thing. But Dak Prescott doesn't have it in his contract. Pat Mahomes doesn't have it in his contract. Deshaun Watson doesn't have it in his contract. Lamar probably won't have it in his contract. You look at most of the black quarterbacks out there, they don't have it. So, but when it comes to that, I just think the Cardinals look bad for not putting the players in, but put it for thinking we wouldn't see it and then going back on their word. Because now, anytime Kyler Murray has a bad game, you know they're going to put up this. And the Kyler, it's your fault, because if you studied or if you didn't sign the contract, this wouldn't be out there. If you were with your attorney, lawyer, whatever, your agent, and were like, I don't want this phrase in, they would have to say, no, we're not putting this phrase in. So I don't understand why he allowed them to put the phrase in. I don't understand how he ever thought that was going to be hidden. Because I bet you the Cardinals like, nobody's ever going to see this, and he was just like, yeah, sure, sign. And I hope his agent realizes how bad it makes him. It makes him look awful. Like, say he's the agent for Lamar now, or obviously Lamar doesn't happen, but say he's the agent for that. You really don't think the Ravens would be looking at Lamar being like, your agent fucked up here with somebody else? You really think we're not going to try to take advantage of that? And that looks bad on him. But final thoughts on Kyler Murray. I think he's incredibly talented. I genuinely do think he's borderline top 10. He's like top 12 out of all the quarterbacks, which is still upper echelon. I definitely don't think he's mediocre, but when it comes to his studying habits, you don't get anywhere in this league if you don't study. You go nowhere fast. And especially since he's such a athletic-based quarterback, if that athleticism wanes, that's all you have is your mental. Tom Brady's been able to last 22 seasons because of his mental capacity. Eli Manning was out there with one arm, or half an arm at that, just being able to do it purely mentally. Yeah, you need your physical attributes, but it's all a mental game at the end of the day. So, to Kyler Murray, fuck you. You should definitely have just studied. I don't understand how hard it is, because you're getting paid millions of dollars to do what you love. Just study. It doesn't, especially 4 hours. There's guys probably doing 16 hours. So that's my final thoughts on that. Going on to Pat's training camp. We started training camp 5 days at the time of this recording, and we have a couple stories coming out saying, for some reason, or not for some reason, shockingly, Bill Belichick, of all people, is praising the Mac Jones. So, I don't know. I don't know how Tom Brady's feeling about this, saying, I did all this stuff for you and you couldn't praise me once, but you're praising your boy Mac. And people are saying, maybe he's doing it to kind of soften the blow, so if Mike isn't going to be good this year, which I genuinely think he was going to take a step, but he does have a pretty short ceiling. I'm not saying he can't be maybe like borderline top 10, but I don't think he could be that top guy. I don't think he could be that, he's the best quarterback in the league right now. I don't think he could ever hit that. But realistically, if we have a decent enough team to put around him, to win a Super Bowl. I think he could win it. But the problem is, because his first year coming into the league, we were idiotic and overpaid everybody. And don't get me wrong, we needed a complete overhaul when it came to talent, but we traded everybody, overpaid everyone, and underutilized everyone. We paid Jonnu Smith like 4 years, $58 million. He had 200 yards. We still don't have a true number one wide receiver at that. We still didn't have a true number one wide receiver at that point. We didn't have, the only thing we had realistically was our run game. Offensive line wasn't the greatest. And it's just now on defense, we're losing a bunch of guys. People retiring, people leaving, people probably we're just not going to retain. Dante Hightower's definitely not coming back. Chung retired a couple years ago. J.C. Jackson left to the Chargers. I don't know what the Pats are doing, because if we were smart with our money, we could have done what the Chargers are doing now. Where, yeah, they may have overpaid some people, but at the same time, at least they have the cap space to put a super team around Jay Herbert. And now they're in contention to win a ring, while us, we're in contention to be mediocre at best. And another story coming out, we have Devontae Parker has been looking real good in camp. But even with that, with my high hopes, can he be our number one wide receiver? I hope so. If he could be 70% of what he was, I think he could be our number one wide receiver. But at the same time, for how much we're paying a bunch of these other guys, we should have a true number one receiver. We should have been able to get like an Amari or, I don't know, Tyreek. Obviously, we wouldn't have paid them, which is our problem, which is why we're in this situation to begin with, which is why Tom Brady left. But we're just in such a bad spot if you really think about it, because I still think as long as you have Bill Belichick, of course you're going to always be in contention. But the NFL, especially the AFC, is just getting better and better. This year, I don't think we're going to take over the division, because I think Bills, like I said, are my Super Bowl pick. Miami definitely got a lot better, even though I don't trust Tua. You have Tyreek Hill. He's going to cover up a lot of gaps. It's going to be the same thing where it's like, fuck it, he's down there somewhere. Throw it up, he's down there somewhere. He's bound to catch it. And then once he catches it, he's gone. He's gone. Ain't nobody catching him. All right. So even in our own division, we're the third best. Do I think the Jets have a chance to beat us? Fuck no. And if they do, we should retire as a franchise and never bring a team back to Boston or New England. Ever. If we lose to the Jets. The day we lose to the Jets, especially twice, is the day we should never play football ever again. Never. That's how much I do not respect the Jets. But in other news, to finish off on, Pats are in not a great spot, realistically, because we overpaid. We don't have any cap space in the time we should have cap space. And if Mac is any good, we're going to have to pay him. And then the going rate is going to be way too high for us to pay Mac and retain any value of anybody else. So we're going to be basically stuck in mediocrity for a while. Unless he takes a team-friendly deal, which I don't think he should. He should go at the going market, as he should. So, Pat's in a really bad spot. But in other news, Deebo Samuel finally got paid after being the super gremlin, saying he wasn't coming back. He didn't want to be a running back, partying in the club, saying, hell no, I'm not coming back. He officially got paid. So for those who don't know, Deebo Samuel was the first wide receiver of this offseason to hold out. Did the same thing Kyler Murray did, where he scrubbed his IG of all 49ers stuff. Was basically saying, I don't want to be a running back. I deserve to be paid with all these guys. He was just saying, I don't want to come back. There was a video of him in the club dancing, and they're putting the sign saying, oh, Deebo's coming back. And he's going, nope, I ain't going. I'm coming back. No way. And yet he's back. He was in training camp this week, not participating because he is a non-injury injury, meaning he came and practiced doing his own stuff. So he wouldn't get fined, because the fines are insane now for missing training camp, which I don't blame him. Of course, I'm not going to lose any of that money. I'm not going to give them any more money than they should give me. So but he got paid, and the deal looks like 3 years, 73.5 is the full contract, 58.1 guaranteed, which I believe is slightly more than DK Metcalf got for his fully guaranteed money. So now I believe he's like the fourth or fifth highest rated wide receiver when it comes to being paid, because we know Tyreek's getting paid 30 a year, Devontae Adams getting paid 28.7 or 28.75, something like that. And I mean, hey, he got paid, he got happy, he's got extra incentives if he plays the running back position or has like however many rush yards, all that stuff, which you see in a lot of contracts. But since he says he doesn't want to be a running back, we're going to see how that shakes out. And I don't think he cares as much about that stuff, but he cares about he got 58.1 fully guaranteed. That's going straight to the bank. He's getting generational wealth. Who could be mad at him for wanting to get paid as much as the other guys when, especially his injury history, he probably knows, damn, I might not play for 10 more years. I might not get another chance to get a huge payday. Let me get one now. So you can't blame him. Yeah, just happy for Debo. He deserves all the money he was paid. And when it comes to other wide receivers, like I said, DK Metcalf got paid, Terry McLaurin, and it's shaken out to be kind of NBA-like this offseason, where players are just being able to hold out in a way and say, "Oh, I deserve to be paid," and they're getting paid, which is nice to see compared to teams being like, "No, we're not going to pay you." And by the NBA reference, I mean you could see James Harden basically saying, "Oh, I don't want to stay. I want to be traded," and they just go, "Oh, okay, I'll let you leave." And he left Houston, then he left Brooklyn. So it's just really nice to see that finally teams are just buying in, saying, "Oh, we'll pay you whatever you need to be happy," I guess, and proud of them. But as I was saying, DK Metcalf got 3 years, $72 million extension, $30 million signing bonus, and 58 total guaranteed. So yeah, like I said, 58.1 for Debo, 58 for DK Metcalf. And to speak on the DK Metcalf situation, he basically is saying, we have a shitty team. My quarterback next year is going to be either Geno Smith or it's going to be Drew Lock. So he was saying, fine, I'll stay, because Pete Carroll doesn't want to go into a full rebuild, doesn't know what the fuck to do this year, I guess, really. He still wants to be a competitive team. He's not going to be competitive. So DK's looking at it like, I could either try to leave, they're not going to trade me, and I'm basically just going to sit a year, or I could get motherfucking paid. And he chose I'm going to get motherfucking paid. Can you be mad at it? Fuck no. Of course he deserves to be paid, especially for the bullshit he's going to have to deal with next year. He deserves to be paid. Because out of all the receivers that got paid this offseason, he's the only one with no true quarterback. And you could say, oh, Debo's got Trey Lance. We don't know what Trey Lance is. I still believe Trey Lance will be a step above Drew Lock and Geno Smith, because Drew Lock is just bad at football. He is just bad at football. And Geno Smith is a good backup. How is he going to be for a full 17-game season? Because we all know they're not making the playoffs. If they're to make the playoffs, I put down right now $150 they're not make the playoffs. $150 down. And I could tell you right now, everybody will do the same bet. But because that team's atrocious. Seattle, when you look at it, they have no running back now. Considering their top running back, Chris Carson, retired because of a neck injury. He was 28 anyway, so he was kind of already on the decline if you look at it. Numbers-wise, if we're using Madden stats, I guess. You look at their receiving core, yeah, they still have DK, yeah, they still have Lockett, but with nobody throwing it to him, it doesn't matter. You could be the greatest receiver. You got nobody throwing it to you. It's hard to get yards. The offensive line, abysmal. Tight ends, no tight ends of any good relevance. Quarterback, like I said, atrocious. Defensive line, subpar at best. DBs, they have one decent corner. Linebackers, they let go of Bobby Wags, so they got no real linebackers left. Safeties, same thing. So that team is just kind of, if I were the GM, I would have told Pete, no, we're going to do a complete overhaul. We're going to trade everybody we can for as much value as we could get, and we're just going to go into complete Detroit Lions, Washington football team rebuild. Because you got it. If you want to be competitive one day, but I'm guessing Pete's like, oh, I know I'm probably out the door soon, so might as well at least try to be competitive for myself, which I mean, I guess you can't blame the coach for trying to be competitive, but from a team standpoint, it makes zero sense when you guys have no chance being in the NFC where the clear-cut contenders are the Bucks, the Rams, 49ers if they got their QB situated because that team is still incredible. And then you got like your bubble teams, you got Dallas, I guess, because their roster is still kind of stacked even though that team will never go anywhere. You still got, I guess, the Eagles are coming up. You got, yeah, that's kind of all really the real contending teams because every other team is kind of just in the rough of it, trying to find a spot. So Seattle, I guess, doesn't have that much competition above them, but all the competition that's above them is still way better than them, better than their team. So Pete Carroll's kind of just screwing himself in a way if he wants to even be a contender one day. But I don't think he's looking at it that way. I think he knows he's on his way out the door. So, hey, word to him. And lastly, Deshaun Watson. This is going to be a little bit lengthier of a topic today since how long we've been talking about this. 2 years now, I'm pretty sure. So let's get into it. Deshaun Watson officially has been suspended by the NFLPA for 6 games, 6 NFL games. And people are already having backlash saying, oh, I should have been a year or more since Calvin Ridley got a year. And all the feminists are saying, oh, it's very clear the NFL they don't care about women being abused since we've seen Ray Rice got 6, Zeke got 6. Basically every person who's sexually assaulted or accusedly sexually assaulted or hurt a woman has only got 6 games, 8 games at the most. Greg Hardy got like 8 games and then was suspended the next year. But the NFL probably realized, okay, we gave him this, saying, okay, we could give him more if Roger Goodell were to step in. But I guess Roger Goodell is probably going to say, I'm kind of in a lose-lose situation here where, yeah, we can't suspend him for more than a year. And even if we were to do a year, they're going to just keep doing the appeals. And I bet you, from what we've already seen, Deshaun Watson's team is probably going to win that. And they're going to go, all right, if we're going to lose that case, why even fight it at all? Might as well keep our hands off of it. But they also run the risk of, like I said, the feminists and just other people who agree that Deshaun Watson is guilty, not guilty. It doesn't matter what the law says in a way. People always have their bias. And if you look at, 27 cases of women saying, this man sexually assaulted me, there's got to be something there. Even if it's not, oh, he's actually sexually assaulted them. You don't got 30 people saying the same story for no reason. Because you're telling me 27 women somehow met up with no connection, met up and said collectively, I want to destroy this man. And especially when he admitted, yeah, I went to all those women. There's just something there where it's, even if he did not do anything, he held himself in such a vulnerable, awful position that he put himself in the worst possible way to succumb to all this scrutiny. Because there's plenty of athletes that get massages, get all that stuff. But they find, obviously, when you're first getting into the league, you got to find who works, who doesn't. Oh, I have chemistry with this person. Oh, I don't like being, because, I don't know, whatever their reason may be. But they realize, oh, okay, they find who their 1 or 2 are. They go, all right, either you work for me, or they only schedule with those people. And yeah, and say those people aren't available, then fine, they have to go find somebody else for the time being. But Deshaun Watson going to 27 different massage therapists in the span of 18 months or more, that's still very concerning. And it's not like, oh, even if you're traveling all the time, if other sports are able to do it, then you should be able to do it, especially when you're getting paid. He was getting paid a hefty amount. It's not like he was getting paid chump change. It's not like he was getting paid the vet minimum. He was getting paid an average quarterback money, especially at that time. So, whatever way you look at it, he held himself in such an awful way that he put himself under the microscope. So now people are never going to be able to look at him the same. Me and Evan talked about how I was the biggest Deshaun Watson fan. We're never going to look at him the same. And all the people saying, "Oh, well, he's going to serve it. Everybody could keep their mouth shut." 2 grand juries found him not guilty. It's not about whether they found him not guilty. It's about he held himself in such bad manner. It makes not just athletes look bad. It makes black athletes look bad. Say I got a kid coming up and he gets more athletic than anything I could have ever given him. Goes to the NFL, same thing happens. Or situation kind of similar happens. Of course, they're gonna look back on cases like these and be like, "Oh, why would we give him the benefit of the doubt?" And you can say that's not true, but in a lot of cases, we haven't seen white athletes get as much scrutiny as this because they don't get. We haven't seen as much from them. We've seen, like I said, a Ray Rice, black, Zeke, black, Greg Hardy, black, and it's up to like whoever's raising them, fathers, mothers, grandmothers, grandparents, aunts, uncles, family, friends. It's up to the people raising them to be real with them and be like, this is wrong. Like, see all these sports athletes, you should not be looking up to them. You should be trying to be a better man, not just a better athlete, not just a better role model. I'm not saying you have to be a role model I'm not saying as a sports person, I don't know, sports athlete, you should be trying to be a role model. Because a lot of them aren't role models. But you at least got to be role models for your own kids, for your own generation. Because say you got kids and they're looking under you and they're like, wow, my dad really did that. They should be looking at you sideways. And you should be like, damn, I basically just taught my son an awful lesson that you could act like this and not be caught, but everybody in your life will never look at you the same. And I bet you he feels it because I'm pretty sure he's still with that YouTuber, Jillianis. And they've been together since, I believe, the 2018 season, 2019 season. And you got to think, is she looking at him the same if they are together, or if they aren't? Do you think this case had something to do with, oh, I just can't be with you because of the scrutiny, or I can't be with you because I don't know if you did all this? And it's such a weird situation where you got to think, people got to be looking at him and say, can I trust you ever again? Because from a sports standpoint, of course the Browns are going to trust him. Like I said, he was one of the best quarterbacks when he was playing. And I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit here, but he was one of the best quarterbacks while he was playing. And even with all the people that's probably risen above him, like a Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Kyler, Lamar, all those people rising while he hasn't been playing. I bet you once he steps onto that field, he's going to prove why he was getting paid top dollar. So, I don't know. You just got to think, probably in his head, you got to think he's going to go out there game 7 for him, but it'll be game 7 of the season, game 1 for him. And you got to think what's going through his mind, saying, wow, are these people cheering for me to fail? Are these people cheering for me to win? Are these people looking at, because they're never going to look at you the same as, oh, that's Deshaun Watson, upstanding guy who gives to black businesses, who gives money to charity, whatever. They're going to look at you as, oh, that guy who sexually assaulted somebody. And the people saying, oh, that's not true, blow over. We still call Ray Lewis a murderer because of that murder case. We still call him that. We still call Ben Roethlisberger a rapist. We still call him that. That was The Ray Lewis thing, I'm pretty sure was one of his early years. So you got to think 96, 97. The Ben Roethlisberger thing was maybe 2007 ish, 2008. We're in 2022. We still call him that. And yeah, they got their tributes when they retire, saying all these beautiful things, but people still look at him that way. People always look at him that way. People always look at Ray Rice as, oh, the guy that beat his girlfriend in an elevator. People always look at Greg Hardy with the substance abuse issues, the allegations. People are all. Well, it doesn't matter what you do to combat that. People always look at you in the exact same awful light because it's easier. It's easier to look at you as a bad person. You do one bad thing, people will look at you as a bad person. And it's just sad to see it from especially black athletes where it's like we finally make it to this pedestal. And it's kind of like going off topic here, kind of like the Will Smith thing where this week he apologized to Chris Rock, and people are saying, "Oh, you can't take months to apologize." But we could see a white creator do the exact same thing. Ain't nobody bad an eye. Everybody's going, "Oh yeah, he apologized. Everything's all good now." Ain't nobody looking at Will Smith that way. They're saying, "Oh, how dare he apologize now? Yeah, how he made the community look bad." And for the people supporting him, I could understand because it's like, yeah, time has passed. Time should heal all or most wounds. But he's got to also realize the consequence of his actions. But at the same time, we got to learn in a way to forgive because we forgive a lot of other stuff, but we won't forgive a lot of stupid shit, especially when it comes to colored people, when it comes to colored athletes, actors. Just there's a bunch of I don't know how I'm trying to explain this, but there's a bunch of stuff that we let go for other people and hold in for some. If you guys catch my analogy, I'm kind of getting political here, and I'm not trying to get political, but it's I don't know. Yeah, but to finish off my point on the Deshaun Watson case, he got suspended 6 games. I'm not saying let's forget about what he has alleged, but it spent its day in court. They found him not guilty twice. The league suspended him for this much, and he's saying he's hoping the league doesn't appeal because he knows he basically got off pretty scot-free. And, I mean, in his book, I guess he won. He settled with all of the cases at this time of recording, all but one, meaning he settled with 26 out of 27 or 25 out of 26, whatever the number is. In his case, in his case, I bet you he thinks, oh, I've basically won. And I'm not saying, oh, whether he did it or not. I know on this podcast I've said, oh, he's guilty, which was wrong of me. But in the face of the law, they said, no, it doesn't matter how people are feeling about whether it's right or wrong. That's how the law looked at it. They looked at it thoroughly, I assume. The NFL took all the way until yesterday to make this decision. So they've done all they can, realistically. There's always going to be people saying he should have got a year, he should have never played in the NFL again. I don't think they were ever going to do that. I think that was more of just talk. I think they saw Trevor Bauer and saw the backlash that people were giving it, and they said, we can't do that. It looked bad for us. We much rather the casual fan not even know about this. At this point, they just want to go away. They don't want this to ever be brought up ever again. So, yeah, those are my final thoughts on Deshaun Watson. He'll probably be great for the Browns. He might bring the Browns their first Super Bowl. And then, in a lot of people's eyes, all will be forgiven. So, we'll see when that happens, if that happens, if he comes back to regular form. So, yeah. And to wrap it up for today, we lost a Celtics legend, the most winningest athlete of all time, and that is Mr. Bill Russell himself. Passed away at the young age of 88 in his sleep gladly. They said he passed away peacefully, but I just want to give a moment of silence for Bill Russell. But when it comes to Bill Russell, he was not just a juggernaut on the court. but off the court. But let's talk about on the court first. Like I said, most winningest athlete of all time, 11 rings. Ain't nobody doing that. At one point, he was 8 for 8. 8 in a row, I mean. Which is just insane when you really think about it. Because we don't consider him anywhere close to the greatest player of all time. But he's the most winning player of all time. He won 2 of those rings as a player coach. And not only was he doing that, he was doing that in an era where you didn't see a lot of black athletes succeeding. I mean, yes, we had Wilt who was succeeding, but he didn't succeed nearly as much as Bill Russell. He only beat Bill Russell in a series once. They faced it together they faced off against each other 8 times, and Bill Russell won 7 of them. So, but to talk about the off-field stuff, off-court stuff, Bill Russell was playing in an era, especially in a place where a lot of racial slurs were being thrown at him. Even if he was playing incredibly well in a game, people were still throwing stuff on the court, yelling obscenities at him. And he had this quote where he told Kobe, because Kobe asked him, how did you feel about that? He goes, instead of making a scene and saying, how am I going to have a mental reaction and break out in front of everybody, and they'll say, yeah, because that's what they want. He would use it as fuel in a game to win. And it's just sad because he's winning for all these people, and they're screaming obscenities at him, saying all this stuff, and then he'd win them a championship. And for that short time period, it'd be like, yeah, okay, he's fine. And then as soon as, say he has a bad game or something, or we lost, it's all Bill Russell's fault. It sucks that we still have those problems with our fans. And so all the Boston Celtics fans saying, that's not true. It's very true. As much as I don't like Kyrie, when he says, Boston Celtics fans scream obscenities at him, I bet you it's true. LeBron has said it. KD has said it. A lot of the greats have said it. And it sucks that one of the pillars of our history, who literally built this town, if we think about the people who have built Boston up, Bill Russell, Larry Bird, David Ortiz, Tom Brady. And even for David Ortiz, he's told stories about how people have screamed obscenities at him if he's had a bad game or something. And that's just insane to me, where David Ortiz retired like 4 or 5 years ago. And this was in the 2000s. And it's still not even just 2010s, and this was still happening. So, to all the people of Boston saying, we don't say that to people, we do, and it sucks that it still happens. I wish it didn't. But to go back on Bill Russell, what a sweet soul. I wish we could have won it for him this year. At least in the last year of his life, he got to see us go to the finals one more time. And yeah, rest in peace, Bill Russell. But that does it for today on the Unruly Podcast. Again, I am your host, Styx. Please make sure to follow the Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, follow on all platforms. But that's all I got for you guys today. Bye.